What's going on, guys? It's Brandon L. Draper with the Start Thinking Forward morning show. Hey guys, if you haven't heard about a free way to share your story or voice with a community of like-minded people, well, I got something for you. The no excuse way to start your podcast. Let me explain. First and foremost, it is free 99. They got all types of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. No special equipment needed, right? You can also make money from your podcast. There's not a minimum amount of people need to listen to it. It's everything plus more that you'll need to create your very own podcast in one place. So, what are you waiting on? Download your free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Yo, it's TMK. Check it. I ain't trying to rush it, but I gotta go. The cameras are waiting, I'm the star of the show. Ain't none of this scripted, it's a natural flow. So go ahead and find a seat, but you try to take notes. Lights, camera, action, just focus on me. Award-winning bars, whether written or free. This is here for all ages, so I'm gonna keep it PG. And come drop the mic at the end of my scene. TMK, yo. Good morning. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Start Thinking Forward morning podcast. My name is Brandon L. Draper. I'm the host of this podcast, and this morning we have another explosive show. And this morning's show, we're going to talk about, do you know who you are? Right? So trying to figure out exactly who you are, what fires you up. And I mean, like, there's so much talk and noise around this, so I kind of just, and I mean, like, this can be like a whole seminar or a whole bunch of rhetoric and talk around the idea, but I just want to pick out a few nuggets that hopefully can transform your mind on this idea of what we're going to talk about. You know, usually if you ask someone, you know, who are you, they usually would tell you, you know, their name, or they will tell you who they are. In essence, you know, my name is Brandon, or I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a this, I'm a that. They go into this long line of different things that they are. And the things that they are typically are things to other people. But who are you exactly? Right? Some people will define themselves and, well, I'm educated. Right? I went to Harvard, I went to Yale, I went to Princeton, I went to MIT, all these different things, but who are you? I didn't ask you where you attended school. I didn't ask you what your title is in church. I didn't ask you any of those things. I asked you who you are. And most time when you ask people who they are, most people draw a silence. And maybe right now there's a silence in your mind for you even to think about the idea of asking yourself who you are, because who you are, you may not know. And there's some positivity in that, right? And, you know, let's look at the word like education, for instance, you know, because so many people define themselves on going to schools and being educated. And there's no knock towards education, because I believe education is very important. I went to school as well. I graduated undergrad and went to graduate school myself. So I'm not by anything knocking education, but I understand who Brandon is has nothing to do necessarily with my education. So we look at the word education. The Latin word derived from that is educo, which means to induce or to draw out or to develop from within, right? Educo, right? So you can kind of, if you really think about it, an educated person doesn't mean you're not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or some type of specialized knowledge. That doesn't make you just educated. An educated person is the person that has developed many different faculties in their mind that allows them to acquire anything that they want. Period. Anything that they want without violating the rights of others. Like, how can you take what's in your mind and manifest it? See, when you ask the question of who you are, not what you are to other people, but who you are. I think there's three main things. We always hear the saying, we are spiritual creatures having a human experience. So I think the three levels of it is, one, we are spiritual creatures and we are having a physical experience. So the first the first level of understanding of our conscious is, one, that we are spiritual creatures. The second is, we're intelligent, right? We have intellect. We're able to understand the world around us instead of just reacting to it. We're not like other animals and organisms. We don't just react. We can respond, and we can respond with intelligence. We have intellect. We have abilities to change ourselves, change others around us, change even the environment, the ecosystem that we live. But then also understanding we live in physical bodies. So a lot of stuff is physical. So what I think happens in those three understandings is that we're spiritual, but we're confined by a physical world. And even though that have the intelligence or the intellect to understand that, we look at the physical world to be a guiding tool for us. So we have a tendency of doing what others do, right? Because we're stuck in the physical. So if things look a certain way, meaning that we see examples of what winning or what we appear winning to be, and we assume that identity for ourselves, then we travel down that road. So our road is confined by what we see physically, right? What our environment is, and we follow that, right? But I think it's a complete lack of awareness of who we are in that. Because if we really find out who we are, we'll be less followers and more leaders. We start creating our own way. But because we have that lack of awareness, because, we want to say that we're spiritual, but every day we're fighting the physical. So how in the world can the spiritual aspect control anything of the physical? And especially when you're catching hell in the physical, right? There's a lot of people that are very religious and very spiritual and they pray all the time. But just because you're praying, just because you're on your knees, and just because you're looking for answer doesn't mean that they're going to come when you expect them, if they come at all. And that's something you're dealing with in the physical. So oftentimes when people are dealt certain blows in the physical, it makes them not want to look towards the spiritual side of themselves, which is where you find yourself, the inner self, right? Because if we all know, and you wouldn't have to study psychology to understand this, but what you see today from myself or any individual out here, if you're listening to this, what you see or what you project to others is basically your higher self. It's the part of you that's the strongest, that's able to self-actualize what you're thinking and manifesting in your mind, and you're able to bring that into the physical world, and you're able to show that, you're able to display that, right? Because you have an awareness of what that is. That is your higher self that you're projecting. Now, some people will argue and say, well, some people's higher self is a very low vibration. And I mean, that's all in perspective, right? That's all in perspective. We all have a general consensus of what a good higher self looks like. And when individuals act a certain way that doesn't appear to be a good higher self, we have a place for them. It's called a penitentiary. We put people away because for whatever reason, their higher self is at a lower vibration that causes them to do negative things in the physical world. But we would say that if they were more spiritually anchored, then they wouldn't do those things. But in order for you to be spiritually anchored, you have to be connected to something. And that's what we're talking about. So oftentimes we have the intellect. We know we operate in the physical world, but we don't know ourselves. We're not able to connect to the spiritual side of ourselves, right? So once again, the question comes back. I said a lot, but let's go back to the question at hand. So who are you? Who are you? And a lot of people will define who they are by what they've done, which will be success, right? And some people will say, well, I haven't had success, so maybe I have not discovered me yet. And I question that, right? Because it's all in what you see success as, right? Success is very simple, right? It's very simple, right? So there's two things I believe, and this is my personal opinion, it takes for you to be successful. One is, you have to know where you're at, right? Where are you? Take a measurement of where you're at in your life at this current moment. That's one. That's step one, is figuring out where exactly you are and know exactly where you're going. Meaning you got a goal set. You know where you are, and you know what your goal is, and you're progressively moving towards that goal, to that ideal, or whatever it is that you've set for yourself. That to me is success, right? Success doesn't mean money, right? And a lot of people, that's not to get it, misconstrued here. I'm not saying having money doesn't mean you're successful. A lot of times it's a contributing factor of being successful is you having an abundance of financial means, is as a direct result of you being successful. But there's a lot of successful people that does not have a whole lot of money, right? Those things are based on perspective. There's people out there that don't have a lot of money, but would consider themselves successful. And many around them would consider them to be successful. They may not have all the money, but they've achieved something in their life that makes them successful, not only to themselves, but to those around them as well. So are you progressively moving in that direction are you constantly looking and trying to understand your higher self? It's hard for people to support or understand you at your current placement. If you're an entrepreneur, you're starting first time business, you're in the trenches, this is a part of you that no one's seen. The higher self that they've always seen you project was a person that did the opposite of what you're doing now. So it's very easy for them to want to revert back to how they see you, and reverting back to how they see you in hopes that how they see you eventually go back to something that's normal to them to understand and ingest. And when that doesn't happen, that's when friction happens between family, friends, support systems, and things that you have in place. So understand that when you're projecting your new self and you're discovering self-discovery, right? You got to let people know and make them aware that I'm going through a sensitive time right now where I'm truly trying to get back to me, right? I've been everything to everyone, but I haven't been me to me, haven't been myself to me, right? And that's the greatest thing, because when you're truly authentically you can help more people. You can connect with more people, because it's the old saying, real recognize real, struggle recognize real. People know when people truly been through the trenches, have went through some difficulties in their life, and then can hey, let me show you, maybe you can bypass some of this pain. And then all the other noise and rhetoric out there that's just saying, do this, do that, bam, bam, whatever, to know pain, to know frustration, to know you want to give up. I've experienced every emotion possible being an entrepreneur. I have letdowns, failure, disappointment. I mean, you name it, wanting to quit a million times, and oftentimes want to still quit. Giving myself an excuse why I don't need to get up here and talk, and wow, man, I'm just tired of this, man. Why won't my numbers go up? Well, just giving yourself a multitude of reasons to stop. Man, that's easy, right? That's the higher self that's been speaking for the last 15, 20 years. That's the higher self that's been always there. And let me ask you a question. Have you seen any growth in who you are, right? You're trying to figure out why you don't know yourself. It's because you've been following a roadmap that wasn't designed by you. You're not the creator. You weren't the architect, right? You weren't the person to draw this thing out. You didn't draw this out. So how are you expected to really know yourself during a journey that's been fabricated by someone else? You have to be able to create your own journey, right? And be willing to be different, right? Not for the sake of that's another thing too, not being different for the sake of being different, but being different because you ultimately are, right? And accepting. See, the number one thing, most people don't accept you, right? If you're having that problem of acceptance, it's because you haven't accepted yourself. See, the most awkward thing to look at is someone trying to be something that they don't even see themselves being, right? Think about that for a second. So We try to take on personas of things that are not us, and then we expect other people to accept that, but we haven't even accepted it ourselves. So that's why you got to be authentic to yourself. So accept who you are, and others will graciously follow and want to be a part, because they're trying to find their authentic self, and you walking in your authenticity is going to allow a gateway for them to walk into their authenticity and be great and make boundless changes and transformations in this world. And it only takes one person. It could just be you. And that's why I attempt to come on this platform and give that. And I don't even know how else to truly communicate that, given my heart. And that's truly how I feel, right? It's hard. I'm not going to even try to delineate and say that it's not hard, but I know that it's possible if you continuously believe and you stop looking for answers outside of yourself and you start looking inside of you. The answers are within, like the word educo, is from within, drawing from within, not drawing from what's outside, right? And not to get biblical here, but I've read all types of texts from all over the world, right? Religious texts. And one of the texts that always, stays with me is John. If you read the book of John, there's a lot of different positive aspects of John messages there. And I'm not citing out the Bible, so I'm going to paraphrase this. What I want to say is John 4. Right. And in John 4, I believe it is said when Jesus is having a conversation and they're trying to understand things. And one of the things that he says is that how can you understand anything on a higher level? And, Jesus taught in parables. So if you think about it for a second, when he's saying that, I'm trying to describe that, put that in my life or your life today. How can you understand anything outside of you? How can you understand the heavens if you don't even understand the earth, your body, you don't even understand you? How can I take you to a higher level of understanding? So in there, he's saying you don't know from whence the wind comes, nor do you know where it goes. You hear it for a brief moment and it dissipates. It goes somewhere else. You didn't know where it came from or where it's going or where it's going to be. Right? You don't even understand that. We don't understand the simplicities of where we're at. So you think about that from a mental standpoint. We don't even know who we are, but yet we're trying to master the world around us when we haven't even mastered the one thing unequivocally that we have control over, and that's ourselves. And I want you to think about that for a second. The one thing you actually have control over is you. And yet oftentimes when we ask the question of who we are, we cannot even answer the question. So I challenge you to go out and challenge yourself to get to know you, to have an understanding of you, what truly makes you who you are, right? Think about it. We don't separate ourselves from things, right? Like I said, I think I said it earlier, but it was on my mind. I was saying, we wouldn't call in to work, calling in sick and say, hey, the body won't be in today. It's sick. He says, I won't be in today. I'm sick, right? We don't say am leg. We don't say am arm. We don't say am foot. We say my foot, my arm, my body, me. We're not defined by our names, right? That's a name is 2 to 3 letters that someone gave us, right? That doesn't define who you are. Who are you? You are Sally. I am Brandon. But what am I? Who am I? Right? I know my name. I know my age. I know where I'm living. But do I know me? Do I ultimately know who I am inside? Because if I know that, if I know the treasures that are within, it's very easy to find the treasures out in the world. You have to master yourself. You have to get a knowledge of self. All right, guys. Hey, if you want to follow us, please follow us on Instagram at The Real Motivational King. Also, if you're looking to share your story, maybe you want to just, be something therapeutic, that you're able to get some emotions and feelings out, but at the same time be able to help someone else. It's not just about personal development. It's about stories, right? Telling a story and telling through telling a story, you make a connection with someone that potentially can help them carry on, whether that's fiction or nonfiction. But sharing your story or sharing a story that may inspire, uplift, and change people. And with that, also continue to share our podcast, our positivity. Every morning I get up here and I'm just pouring into you from the trenches, right? Living life, right? The best thing, the great equalizer of life is no matter what people talk about, what they say, how loud they say it, at the end of the day, we're all just speculating on what we think is right. And I think that there's hints, there's clues, there's secrets out there, but overall, we're all just spectators, and we're all just making, drawing ideas and views of what we think life is, or what life should be, or what the best possible life can be. But at the end of the day, we're all just living, we're all just experiencing, and we're all just trying to figure it out. It's like everyone else. So no matter when you look out and you see someone that seems like their stuff is just airtight and they've got it all figured out, I assure you they don't. They're just trying to figure it out just like you, right? But they just got you thinking that they do when they don't, right? When none of us do. We're all human beings, no matter education level, how much formal training we had. We're all just humans we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're all just trying to figure this thing out. Hey guys, I hope this would help motivate and inspire you today. Go out, make a difference in other people's lives and your lives. Continue to please share our message of hope and inspiration with your friends, family. And if you really love and want to continue to support our mission, please go to patreon.com/creators inner circle and support our movement. Also to closing lines, and of course, that's ZENITHCORES.com. Check us out. Make a purchase there. Everything that we do go back to our ministry of promoting and uplifting. Hey guys, it's been great. Until tomorrow morning, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, I wanted to squeeze in here real quick, and I wanted to say something to you. First and foremost, it's very important for you to share your story. Now, this is not a sales pitch, but this is just straight talk here. Sharing your story can be therapeutic, not only just for yourself, but for others as well. There are so many people that have so many things pinned up in them, and they don't know how to express that. But check this out. I believe as the digital age increases and the way information is bounced from one side to the next, let me tell you something. I think that you can help so many people leave a piece of you behind by sharing your story and publishing it on many different mediums and different verticals. Like, for instance, you can share your story. Let's just say you went through something traumatic. You may not even want to share who you are, but you want to share that experience because someone else may have experienced something like that, and you sharing that may help them be able to get out of the rut that they're in, maybe help them get out of being depressed, or just give them some type of hope and inspiration to carry on. But if you never share that story dies with you. And maybe, maybe sharing your name is important. So we have ways where you can do a pen name, and you can actually think about it. The pain and struggle that you went through, actually being able to share that with the world, help others, and then also make an income off of that. Hey guys, you want to learn more on exactly how you're going to do that? Because one of the things that I learned when I got into this sector is, people have information, which information is very readily available, but transformation is not. Transformation is something else. That's when you have to get different type of help and assistance to get you to the transformation part. So I want you to make a transformation. So right now, here's my bid. Hey, if you go to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/creators inner circle, right? That's where I'm going to pour into you week after week on how to do this. And you're contributing to a good cause, because guess what? We're giving back. Part of our campaign here at Pinnacle Point Publishing Camp and also the Inner Circle is that we want to build facilities for entrepreneurs like yourself, authors like yourself that want to share their story in a multitude. So check us out on patreon.com/creators inner circle. Hey guys, Thank you for listening in. I greatly appreciate it.